can I show you what I'm dealing with here? This is the outside right now. Look at all that snow, right, Lucy? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my garden. I am Jen. Happy December. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I'm planting up my tulip bulbs in December. So I missed my opportunity to plant my bulbs in my landscape, anywhere in my garden, and also in my elevated garden bed out back. So the reason for that is because it is full-fledged winter weather in my Zone 6B Western New York garden. We have had a couple of, little snowstorms, and there is several inches of snow on the ground, and we have, I think, more snow coming in the next 24 hours. Then it's supposed to warm up a little bit. Today it's in the 30s. I think this week it's supposed to warm up to the mid 40s. But anyways, what I'm going to be doing in today's video is catching myself up in my garden. I still have my tulip bulbs that I purchased from Longfield Gardens, and I have yet to do anything with them. But it's not too late. You can still plant your tulip bulbs. You just have to pivot if you were thinking of planting them in the ground. And I planted my tulips in containers last fall, and I really liked the result I got. I think I planted up 4 containers, and I just put them on my front porch, and it was really just enough color and enough, to give me that springtime, those springtime vibes, and a little bit of joy in my heart for the spring season. I think, planting tulip bulbs in containers is very easy, and there's some benefits to doing that. You have the flexibility to move the pots around your landscape. You can put them on your back patio. You can dot them, throughout your landscape. You can put them on your front porch. So I like the fact that you have some flexibility in doing that. I also think that there is some benefit to planting them in containers. You may avoid some of those problems that you can encounter when you plant them out in the landscape. For example, sometimes when you plant out in the landscape, they can get too wet and they can rot and get mushy, or you can have a little critter come by and eat them up on you before they even have a chance to root and bloom. So that's another reason why containers are a good option. So I'm going to show you what I did. I started this yesterday, and I planted up a couple of pots with tulips already. I still have a large bag of tulips that I want to plant up today, and I'll show you how I do that. And yeah, I just want to inspire or motivate anybody out there who maybe hasn't planted their tulip bulbs yet, and it's, getting to be not great weather in your garden zone. Don't worry, don't fret. Just plant your tulip bulbs up in containers and you'll be just fine. So this is what I'm working with here. I started this yesterday, and this is my big container of old potting mix from my summer containers. And that's the first thing. When you're planting bulbs in containers, you don't have to use new potting mix. It's a great idea to use your old potting mix. The tulips will be just fine. So I got a big container of my old potting mix here, and I drug that into the garage here, and I did run into a little issue. It was frozen when I first brought it in here, and don't let that stop you. All I did was put some water in a tea kettle, brought it to boil on my stovetop. I did that several times because this is quite a big container, and I was able to de-thaw my soil, and you can see it's nice and fluffy and looks pretty good. It did the trick, so don't worry about that. And I have Lucy, my helper here. I do have some bulb tone as well. I'll be using that as fertilizer. I'll show you how I use that. And here are just a couple packages of tulips. Some more tulips. These are the pots I planted up yesterday, and I can show you and tell you about what I planted up in these containers. Tulip that I'm going to plant kind of in the center. They are called the Tulip Darwin Hybrid Ad Rem, and this is a tulip that is going to be growing 20 inches tall while this other package is going to be 18 inches tall. So I'm going to be putting the 20-inch tall tulips in the center, and then I'm going to be surrounding it by the tulips that get just a little bit shorter on the outside. So what can I tell you about these tulips? These are hardy in zones 3 to 8. Their bloom time is mid-spring, and like I mentioned before, they grow 20 inches tall, and their color is like a red yellow, it says on the bag, although it looks from the pictures it looks to be a peachy kind. And then on the outside of this container I'm going to be planting the Tulip Triumph Jimmy, and this is a little bit smaller bulb, and the color is an orange peach. Get a couple of them here. They look pretty good. This one kind of lost its outer skin, but doesn't look too bad. And like I said, these are called the Tulip Triumph Jimmy, and they're an orange peach color, and I'm going to be planting both tulips about 6 inches deep, and the Jimmies grow 16 to 18 inches in height. And if you're wondering how deep to plant your tulip, you want to just take a look at your tulip, and this one looks to be about 2 inches. You're generally going to plant it 3 times its size. So on both of these tulips, it says to plant it 6 inches deep. So that's generally about 3 times the size of the bulb. So the tulips that I purchased this year were from Longfield Gardens, and I thought they looked beautiful. These are the ones I'm going to be planting up today. I already planted a couple of containers here, and today I'm going to be planting up these 2 containers. And these are containers that I got off of Amazon that I do like. I have used them in all different sizes around my home. I kind of like the traditional style and the look of them. They are a plastic container. I can link them in my description box if anyone is interested. So the first thing we want to do is fill both of our containers here with just a little bit of potting soil. These containers here are about 15 inches in width, and these here were about 12 inches, just for reference. So I'm just going to take some of my old potting mix and just start to fill up these containers. Like I said, I'm going to be filling them up with 5 or 6 inches of potting mix. Okay, so I filled my container with, like I said, about 5 or 6 inches of potting soil. I am going to use some bulb tone today. I purchased this last fall when I planted bulbs in containers last fall. It's not required in terms of planting bulbs, but I do have it, so I am going to use it, and it can help promote good growth and better blooms. So I'm just going to be adding a little bit of that to my container. Just a handful or so, and I'm just going to work it in. And the type of tulip that I'm going to be planting here is just the Tulip Darwin Hybrid Pink Impression. And I remember getting this particular tulip last year as well. It says to plant it 6 inches deep. They grow about 20 inches tall. It's a sun to part shade, and it blooms mid-spring. So just a beautiful pink tulip. Let's just take a look at a couple of the bulbs here. Now, I purchased these tulips. Look how beautiful that tulip is from Longfield Gardens. Just gorgeous. I purchased these, I looked at my order sheet about a month ago. So they've been sitting in my garage, not really being tended to for about a month, and I think they look pretty healthy. So I like to start in the center of my container, and I just like to, make circles going outward. So I will start planting up these pink impression tulips. And if it's your first time planting a tulip, just be aware that the bottom flat part is the area where the roots come out. So you want that part to be flat to the soil, and you want to plant the pointed side up. And I am going to kind of jam pack this container. I didn't really worry about spacing last year, and they did just fine, performed just fine. They looked beautiful. So I'm just going to kind of fit as many in this container as I can. Maybe we can get one more over on this side here. And one of the cool things about tulips is that if you didn't know how to plant it, or, to put the pointy side up, I guess if you just threw the tulip in the container, just on its side like that, from what I hear, the tulip will find its way up eventually. So that's kind of cool. Okay, now I'm just going to cover the bulbs with about 6 inches of potting mix. Okay, so this potting soil getting towards the bottom is getting really rooty. So what I think I'm going to do with the rest of this container is use it for my allium bulbs, because I did purchase a couple of bags of alliums for the first time. I've never done alliums before, from Color Blends, and I wasn't able to get those in the ground either. So I had an idea that I could possibly, put my allium bulbs in a large container like this, and, you know, keep them in my shed or my garage. And then when they are starting to sprout and it's warm enough out in my garden, I can transplant them. Not sure how that will go, but that's what I'm thinking that I'm going to try to do. So I'm going to just leave the rest of this potting soil here, and I think I do have some other potting mix that I can use to top off the rest of this container. I have most of it covered here. So I have an open bag of compost from my summer gardening. I'm just going to grab a couple handfuls and finish topping this container off. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to be keeping this in either my garage, which we're already in my garage, so I'm probably just going to keep it in my garage, um, you know, in an unheated space. So I'm probably going to put it up against the wall over here, right over here, so that it gets the cold stratification time needed in order for blooms to happen in the springtime. Okay, so I just have my pots just along the wall of my garage here. This is one we just planted up, and I'm going to be planting up that other container in just the same way. And like I said, your tulips need a period of cold stratification. It's from approximately 12 to 16 weeks of cold stratification, and that temperature should be between 35 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So I just looked at the temperature in my garage here. It's about 45 degrees in here. So I'm going to watch it, because I think last fall I did end up moving them to my shed, and I may do that with these as well, but just not today because it's kind of snowy and I don't feel like walking out to the shed. Anyway, I just wanted to encourage anybody out there who maybe hasn't gotten their tulip bulbs planted yet to maybe make up a little workspace for yourself in your garage and get it done. I feel good that I'm, getting this done, and I'm looking forward to a springtime show of lots of color. So thank you all for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing everyone in my next video. Happy holidays.